lips are golden, baby, get me high. Touching me like lightning, keeping it exciting. You know exactly what to do to blow my mind. You're from another planet. I've never felt like this. I don't know how I ever survived without it. I'm starry-eyed, got me upside down, spinning around you. Wanna taste the clouds, can't swim that up. Take a trip around your body, boy, I love the way you got me. Starry-eyed, got me starry-eyed. This bed is out of space, just keep painting constellations. You cover me in glitter till I'm shining bright. I never wanna leave the sky, the way you make me feel alive. I was in the dark and baby, you're the light. You're from another planet. I've never felt like this. I don't know how I ever survived without it. I'm starry-eyed, got me upside down, spinning around you. Got me upside down, spinning around you. Wanna taste the clouds, can't swim that moon. Take a trip around your body, boy, I love the way you got me. Starry-eyed, got me starry-eyed. Losing all my focus, I can't even control it. You know your lips are golden, baby, get me high. Touching me like lightning, keeping it exciting. You know exactly what to do to blow my mind. You're from another planet. I've never felt like this. I don't know how I ever survived without it. I'm starry-eyed, got me upside down, spinning around you. Wanna taste the clouds, can't swim that up. Take a trip around your body, boy, I love the way you got me. Starry-eyed, got me starry-eyed. This bed is out of space, just keep painting constellations. You cover me in glitter till I'm shining bright. I never wanna leave the sky, the way you make me feel alive. I was in the dark and baby, you're the light. You're from another planet. I've never felt like this. I don't know how I ever survived without it. I'm starry-eyed, got me upside down, spinning around you. Got me upside down, spinning around you. Wanna taste the clouds, can't swim that moon. Take a trip around your body, boy, I love the way you got me. Starry-eyed, got me starry-eyed. Losing all my focus, I can't even control it. You know your lips are golden, baby, get me high. Touching me like lightning, keeping it exciting. You know it.
Hard-ass year to be on the left. And here are some of the reasons why. Now, this video might be a little longer than usual, but I'm going to ask you to put your hand out. Let me take it. I have a glove on. Put a napkin in between. And I'm going to ask you to walk with me. Period. Y'all already know I have notes, okay? And one of the wisest women I know said anything worth doing is worth debriefing. Let's get into it. One of the biggest lessons I'm taking away from 2024 is that the left has no North Star. There is no uniting platform that we are all looking to, no matter what faction we are on, to actually organize around in between presidential elections and midterm years. Now, what do I evidence this on? Well, the right is clearly organized, no matter what faction of the right they are on, whether they're libertarians to conservative evangelical Christians. They are all stepping for pro-life. They're all stepping for white and or financial supremacy. They are all stepping for small government and deregulation. And they are all stepping behind some type of immigration reform that looks real fascist. Okay? So many of us on the left, especially some of our highly educated black women, looking at you girls with the pink, green, and the pearls, are deeply disconnected from the heart of what our platform should be, and that's working class policy and the peoples whose lives will be saved by those policies. This year has been overshadowed by concurrent genocides in the Congo and Palestine and the Sudan. 500,000 people are estimated to have been killed in Palestine. 800 million people are at risk of starvation in the Sudan. And the most disappointing and disgusting part of all of this is it was funded mostly by U.S. tax dollars. It was Western backed in the Sudan. And guess what? The RSF is backed by the UAE. Guess who the UAE is backed by? Oh, okay. So all of our money is tied up in all this shit. Oh, okay. And the icing on that shit cake that anybody with a pulse and a real political analysis could have seen coming was Donald Trump winning this election. Because he himself is an immense cultural figure. And he is also every fucking type of fascist that you could think of. And in order for the left to actually understand how we can defeat this type of populist fascism, we have to contend with what makes it so fucking popular in the first place. Luckily for us, we have amazing examples in West Africa of decolonization in Mali, Senegal, Burkina Faso, and Niger. And they're actively kicking out their colonizers and reclaiming their resources. That is a show of true strength, and we should support, all black people all over the world should support the decolonization of Africa. It has been reported but not yet confirmed that Apple is going to stop accepting resources that are illegally mined from the Congo, and there have been progressive wins throughout the country and all over the world. I hope in 2025 we can truly remember the late great Nikki Giovanni by giving the best of ourselves to each other, by struggling and disagreeing in a way that is principled, by actually getting together and strategizing to see what it would look like to build power for a populist left agenda. Change is inevitable when you commit to organizing the people and the resources necessary to make change possible. And as our ancestor Imam Khalifa said, all praise be to Allah in every situation. Rest in power to every single person who has died at the hands of state-sanctioned violence. First things first and last things last. If you want to read what I'm reading for the first quarter of 2025, I will be finishing The Southern Mystique by Howard Zinn. Like I said, my first edition copy. I will also be reading The Elements of African Socialism, especially with all the decolonization that's happening in Africa right now. We need to tap in, period. I will be reading Parable of the Sower, because this simulation really does feel like a joke. And Octavia Butler literally gave us the formula already. So tap in on that. And last but certainly not least, I got my hands on Rafat El-Rear's poetry book, If I Must Die. I'm super excited to read this. It is super back ordered right now. But if you were lucky enough to get your hands on a copy like I was, please tap in with me and read this for the first quarter of 2025. And yeah, man, free my nigga Luigi, free all political prisoners, free them all for real. And if you made it this far into the video, go ahead and drop some fireworks in the chat, because we're gonna have a happy, transformative, and revolutionary new year. Bye, y'all.
I really missed her.
Me too, man. She took a I think a 2-month hiatus. It was much needed. Maybe I need to do that, because online media, social media is just such a fucking cesspool, man.
Yeah, I only keep my sanity because I realize at the end of the day, it's all anonymous losers online.
Haven't had avatars and shit.
Yeah.
Them the ones,
yeah,
man.
it's just, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
and frankly, yeah, I really needed to see that. I would love to participate in a stream with her and pick her brain, because Rory, just from those few books that she was showing, looks like it seems like her library would be incredibly awesome to go through.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, well, I'm gonna tell the audience in a minute. Yeah, when we get our podcast together up and running, I want her to be our first guest. Most definitely, man. Like it's gonna be a
Please.
good hour long. I mean, a few hour conversation, like much needed. Okay. What's up, guys? Welcome to a New Year's Eve live stream edition of ATP Live. I'm Andre Morton, and my special guest with me tonight is the Left Independent, and we're coming to you live on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, and Facebook. Y'all know where to follow me. At LateShowBoy24 on Twitter, and my alternate account is Conrad Dre, just in case I get nuked. And also, you can find Left Indy on Twitter. His handle is left_Indy, and he's also on Blue Sky as well. So check him out, y'all. Like he's a cool dude. And also, announcement. Me and Left Indy decided we're going to branch out on our own. Like me and him going to do a podcast together. We don't know the name yet. We gotta get all that stuff together. But I was supposed to do a podcast with somebody else, but they went batshit crazy on me. So I guess Left Indy takes the torch now. So so how you feel about that, Left Indy?
Yeah, just being privy to what I have with regards to that. Like I said, this is why I call myself the Left Independent, because once once you start trying to form some group, Blackout Network maintains its discipline. I mean, it has pushed out a couple of people over the years, but that's been both to their good and also to their death in many ways. So, but because at that point, even when it's warranted, you have to kind of watch what you say around certain people on certain topics. And when it gets to the point where you have to self-censor, especially if it's on a topic that needs to be brought up, that's a problem. So yeah, I just have never really been much of a team player with regards to that, because I just cannot shut up, especially when I see someone else being disrespected or attacked for no good reason. Then I think it's most important to speak up, and when everyone else is saying sit down and shut up. No, sorry, but you're being like douches.
Yeah, and I hate when people tell me like you shouldn't say this word because of my feelings. I'm like, I wasn't directing the word towards you. Like I would never call a female that word unless they fuck with me. Obviously, I'm a nice guy. I'm drama free on Twitter. That's why I don't even look at the timeline anymore, man. It's just so much crap. Like,
well, we know that Donald Trump is Elon Musk's bitch. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, man.
Civil War is. I think it's going to go the way it did when Kevin McCarthy was elected Speaker of the House in 2022. They had that big row where they didn't want to elect him on the first round of voting because guess what? The extreme right had its demands, and they weren't going to give him what he wanted until he gave them what they wanted. And when he failed to give them what they want, he was out. Mike Johnson was put in. And now Donald Trump answers to Elon Musk.
Yeah. Elon Musk bought his way to the White House, literally. Like,
yeah, like, but there's an interesting, there's an interesting thing about all that is that there was a video called "The Woke Right" by a professor's. I'm going to try not to butcher his name, but Irami Osei Frimpong, the funky academic. I posted a link to one of his videos on Blue Sky and Twitter, but I'm going to go ahead and here in chat for anyone who wants to see it, because it really is an excellent video. This guy really has his act together, speaks in a way that really resonates without coming across as a boring academic lecture. So, I strongly advise people go check out his channel, subscribe, like his videos, share them where you can. Very good. Just like Facts and Fire, because I suspect if those two were to get together and do a podcast together, they'd be storming down the doors to get them yanked off take over the entire freaking internet.
Yeah. Shout out to Afeni. Like she chose to prioritize on the ground organizing over the podcasting field. But I tell her, like I say, maybe you ain't gotta do it every day like me, but you can do it at least once a week. Like you if Afeni, like she's in a world of her own, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
well, incredible. Never limit the tools that you have at work with. I mean, some people, they excel with on the ground activism, and that's their strong suit. Okay, beautiful, but don't use that as an excuse to say electoral politics doesn't work, because if enough people turn out to vote to actually where they can't pretend that it was stolen, or they can't deny the election result. So that's actually what happened this election cycle. Enough people stayed home and didn't vote because they were denied third-party options, and I was disappointed that the Green Party didn't do better than it did. But I wasn't surprised, because Howard Hawkins did a lot going into 2020 and beyond. Stein basically had to pick up the nomination after Cornel West dropped out and left the party in the lurch for a candidate. She wasn't this year, so she had to rebuilding very quickly to get the percentage she ended up getting, which unfortunately was not all that great, but it's still more than what she got in 2020 when she ran the first time. But she basically had to rebuild ground up after Howie Hawkins did his damage.
Yeah. Howie Hawkins was a terrible choice for Green Party. I don't know.
Yeah.
I get it. 2020 pandemic season, but
Hawkins did to the Green Party what Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden and Barack Obama did to the Democrats, rigging the primary process. In fact, Dario Hunter, who was the candidate I voted for as a write-in in 2020, he had my vote for the Green Party nomination. The Green Party in Ohio actually had its act together, because instead of getting on the ballot, which apparently is too much work for them, go with these conventions that take place in Columbus, and then if you want to participate, you either have to find a way down there, go onto their Facebook page, which a lot of people can't do, or you're out of luck. 2020, I voted for. Yeah, 2020, I made the mistake of voting for Tulsi Gabbard, because she was the only one running on an anti-war platform, and then immediately dropped out and endorsed Joe Biden.
Yeah, I remember that.
Me the fuck off. But
me too.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, there's lots of ways to do activism, and those ways is on the ground, the other is in the ballot bot, but you got to do it concurrently. It's kind of like what Malcolm X was saying, the ballot or the bullet. It's like, if you deny us a ballot, you're going to get the bullet. Well, guess what?
You will get the bullet.
Yeah. So, so it's got to be that way, because Malcolm X, when he spoke of Martin Luther King during that brief meeting, he was basically saying, look, I'm the one out there saying this stuff that scares them, so that they go ahead and follow you, because sometimes you got to be that guy, and be the scary option, and make the more modern look more acceptable. So and it's kind of like that with on the ground activism versus, like, you got to be ground, putting the fear into the elites, actually accept change at the ballot box. because that's the
Yeah.
only way it's going to work. So it's, and then
Yeah.
there's people like us who do podcasts. So I mean, we all use what tools we have at our disposal and
Yeah.
to affect what change that we can.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, everything, everybody has a place in the movement, revolution, whatever you call it. Like, I don't criticize people that just do podcasts all day. Maybe they have a disability, maybe they're not able to get on the ground, or as the young kids say, touch grass or whatever. Everybody, everything is
Why would I
important.
touch grass?
That's what I'm
Don't
saying.
on the grass. It's filthy.
Yeah, I don't know why these kids say this stuff. They say, man, I just look at it like, okay, touch grass. You sent me a few links. I mean, a few tabs we could talk about. Let's start with the TikTok one. I think that one is kind of interesting.
Yeah, that really proves just how shrewd Caligula Drumpf is. Because in 2020 he was the one advocating for a ban on TikTok, and now he's the one going to the Supreme Court to delay the ban on TikTok that's set to go into effect next month.
Yeah,
it's foreign owners sell to an American media company. I think Steve Mnuchin was floated as a possible buyer. God, I would hate if he got his grubby little paws on a social media network.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right.
Dumpster fire. But yeah. So SCOTUS blog here, it says the Biden regime on Friday afternoon urged the Supreme Court to leave in place a federal law that requires TikTok to shut down in the United States unless its parent company can sell off the U.S. company by January 19th. The U.S. Solicitor Elizabeth Pilojar, I think that's how it's pronounced, told the justices that the social media giant collects vast swath of data about tens of millions of Americans, which China could use for espionage or blackmail. Of course, she neglected to point out that that's already being done by Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk.
Exactly.
Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. It's
Fucker,
already being done by them. So, and they're also using it for espionage and blackmail. But there's no actual evidence that China's doing this. It's being convicted on basically the say-so of the United States establishment. So, but she's saying China could, she's not saying could, not is, but says could covertly manipulate the platform to advance its geopolitical interests and harm the United States by, for example, sowing discord information during a crisis. Well, we know that's actually been going on under TikTok since Muskrat bought it, and under Facebook under Zuckerberg and the other social media platform. Even on Blue Sky, there was a kerfuffle earlier this year regarding moderation lists that were on Palestinian accounts who are trying to escape a war zone.
I heard that too.
And these same accounts were also placing people on lists of people for supposed transphobia, and the criteria for on those lists could range from actual transphobia, case where I simply used need to refer to someone who's gender neutral, and I use gender neutral personal pronouns, but they're singular, not plural.
Yeah.
And so that was enough to get me listed as a transphobe. So, so it's a very bullshit system of labeling.
That's crazy.
And it's still going on, even though the original got shut down, but they're back now apparently under different user handles and engaging in the same labeling system bullshit. So, all this is already going on here. So for them to accuse TikTok of doing the same thing that U.S. companies are already doing to try and influence elections in other countries. That's why China banned Google and Facebook, even though a lot of people do use VPNs over there to get around that ban, but get caught, they're up shit creek. But there's a reason why China banned Google and Facebook and other social media apps, because those apps are proven to have been used and are being used to influence elections in other countries, and also influence color revolutions, which are basically CIA-backed coups. So this entire thing was nothing but 100% pure projection. And the reason why the Democrats picked up the ban from Trump and ran with it was because some Israeli stooge was complaining about how people are expressing anti-Zionist viewpoints on TikTok, and the United States is not able to regulate it. So, he's very frightened that young people are actually seeing the horrors that Israel is inflicting in Gaza and the West Bank, and also Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, pretty much every other country in the region that doesn't do its bidding. So, it's like banning TikTok is not going to stop the anti-Zionist sentiment. If anything, it's just going to make people double down, because you're being completely obvious about what you're doing, entirely hypocritical. And also, another reason why I think Trump is being very politically shrewd to do this is a lot of people rely on TikTok as their primary or even sole source of income, through ad revenue, through sponsorships. And TikTok is the one social media app here available in the West that has the number of tools and the reach that they can make their living, and that they lose a substantial chunk of their revenue. So people tend to vote with their pocketbooks and their stomachs. If you take money out of their pockets, take food out of their bellies, take a roof out from over their heads, they're either going to vote for the opposition or to stay home and not vote at all. And that's exactly what happened last month, because unlike in 2016, where Hillary Clinton technically won the popular vote, but elections are not popularity contests, they're electoral ones. And so Trump won the Electoral College. Clinton was just such an awful campaigner that she ignored half the country. So in this case, this year, the Democrats, sticking with their 2016 playbook, still have learned nothing. And when you have that level of disgust, as last month, I mean, Trump won the popular vote as well as the Electoral College. The Democrats spin this as being a stolen election. He won the popular vote.
Well, have you heard that from
by almost 5 million?
Yeah, 5 million votes.
How many of those 5 million were TikTok users who stayed home?
Hey, I didn't put that into consideration, Left Indy, because like that's common sense. Like, hey, TikTok ban got passed under the Biden administration, so like, of course they gonna vote for of course they're not gonna vote for Biden. They're gonna sit, like you said, sit on the couch or vote for Trump. So yeah, like I should have known like Donald Trump was gonna win. Like telling me it's still fucking shit, and like obviously it's like you said, people make a lot of money on TikTok, just like YouTube, and that's like taking YouTube away. Like motherfuckers gonna revolt. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, yeah, and obviously I believe too, like Trump, like you said, Trump using this as a political gain, like which at this point, like he really don't have to do shit, but you like we know how the game is played. Because he filed like an 18-page filing that characterized the first term in office as highlighted by a series of policy triumphs achieved through historic deals. Well, bullshit. But he urged the court to delay the ban's January 9th, take office on January 20th to pursue a negotiated resolution, which presumably would have to include new legislation enacted by Congress. But my guess is he thinks he's going to negotiate some kind of deal that will make him look good, but achieving what Biden and the Democrats hoped to, which is to bully China into selling TikTok. Well, first of all, ByteDance isn't really owned by China. It's owned by someone in Singapore.
and a bunch of global investors. So it's not an exclusively Chinese company. But like I said, what they are worried about is the lack of control over TikTok, because they're not able to terminate pro-Palestinian accounts like Meta, which is owned by Mark Zuckerberg, to ban anyone who even hints of that. And they don't have the control that Muskrat does on TikTok to with bots and right-wing trolls and all that. So, because basically Muskrat has become basically even more of a haven for the likes of Alex Jonestown and Jordan Peterless and Tim Wash and Tim Fool, people, Glenn Black.
Glenn Black.
Yeah. Notice I come up with all these
I noticed that.
Names for right wingers because well, they deserve it, and plus they've got no problem doing it to us. I am not getting on my high horse and pretending to be any better than they are. You gotta fight fire with fire, and if they're gonna call us names, and dude, just call it right back. Tim Fool,
Tim Fool. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah,
Andrew Taint. All right, I mean, come on, the name invites ridicule, or Andrew Tater Tot. I mean,
Charlie Smirk.
Yeah.
That racist piece of shit, man. Yeah, but
yeah, it's like or Charlie Dork. I don't know.
Charlie Dork. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, you better than this.
It's just you got to have your fun when discussing right wingers, because they make it so easy. But also, it's like, look, I mean, I've been on political forums and online political discussion for about 26, 27 years now. Since I started hitting the public libraries in 97 when I discovered that they had internet terminals and I could go onto Yahoo political chat forums and whatnot. And one of the biggest problems that the online left has is trying to find some kind of civil discourse to have with right-wingers. It never works, because all that ends up happening is the right-wingers browbeat you into accepting their terms of discussion, where they get away with saying whatever they want, and we have to always self-censor for fear of alienating the right-wingers and having no one to argue with. And it's like, dude, are you fucking stupid? Like, they're not going to reciprocate. They never reciprocate. So you're already ceding control of the discussion. Political debate is not about finding ways to get along with people. It's about getting your message out in a way that resonates with people and convinces them to your cause. And if you're constantly ceding control of the discussion to the other side, no one's going to want to follow you or subscribe to your ideology. I mean, it's
my thing is, you got to fight these motherfuckers. You see what I'm saying? Like, you just can't say, okay, yes, right wing. I gotta concede to you. Nah, fuck that. Like, hey, I as long as they're not my line is, as long as they're not Zionists or racist or xenophobe or whatever. Like, I'll talk to a right winger, but motherfucker, you gonna listen to what I gotta say. Like, So yeah, you're right, man. 100%.
Yeah. So, but I suspect that Trump will, if he thinks he's gonna some kind of deal, he's gonna be in for disappointment, not just because Congress will oppose him on this, I think, but also because ByteDance is not going to be bullied into selling off its most profitable arm,
exactly,
in arguably one of its most profitable markets. I mean, because the Chinese version of TikTok is nothing like the one that's marketed.
Yeah, it's totally different. Yeah, I looked it up. Yeah. Okay, you want to move on to the next topic?
So the next topic, Yoon done fudged up. He done fudged up real good, because this is actually unprecedented in the history of South Korea. The South Korean Constitutional Court has issued an arrest warrant for President Yoon over his martial law declaration at this month. For people who are still catching up, the dictator of South Korea decided under some very false pretenses to declare martial law. He's been under investigation for corruption charges, along with his wife and a number of people from his own political party within the legislature. And rather than face impeachment sooner, he decided, okay, I'm going to declare martial law. Well, now not only has he been impeached and suspended from duties, he is now facing an arrest warrant. And if he refuses to comply, he could very well end up in prison. Because South Korea doesn't fuck around. There's still plenty of people there who remember what it was like living under the U.S. imposed dictatorship.
Wow.
And they will not go back to that. So yeah, the Democratic Party there in South Korea is just it is not fucking around, and neither apparently is a court, even though Yoon stacked it with some of his appointees. But they're not playing games. Says, yeah, South Korean court issues warrant Tuesday to detain impeached President Soon Yuk-yeol and search his office and residence over allegations of rebellion in connection with his short-lived martial law. At the time, a warrant has been issued to detain a sitting South Korean president, but experts say there's little chance of detention or searches unless Yoon is formally removed from office. The Seoul Western District Court issued warrants to detain Yoon and to search the presidential office in central Seoul, according to a statement from the Corruption Investigation Office for High-Ranking Officials, which is leading a joint investigation with police and military authorities. So, yeah, Yoon is in big trouble here. Even if he never sees the inside of a prison cell, he's up shit creek here, because when just the very appearance of that he might actually face arrest over this is galvanizing the protesters who want him. I mean, this is a first. I mean, we're witnessing history right here in real time, because Yoon fucked up and declared martial law, and it was such a blatantly move to try and salvage his own political career. I mean, he's a rank amateur compared to Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel. Netanyahu is a master of finding ways to stay in power. Yeah. Being sent to prison on corruption charges, which, by the way, he's still in danger of that happening, which is one of the reasons why he continued aside for as long as he has, because the war against Lebanon is not going nearly as well as being reported, even though Lebanon is being bombed and the destruction and death toll is horrific. But he can't launch a ground invasion for the simple fact that Israeli soldiers are bitches. Problem whatsoever shooting unarmed children, bombing people from the air. But you put them in ground combat against armed, trained professional soldiers, they fold up like cheap lawn chairs and run away pissing and shitting their pants. So, that's true. There's unconfirmed reports of radioactivity in Syria, and it's believed that Israel may actually have detonated a bomb in Syria.
Oh, geez.
So, like I said, Netanyahu is of pulling shit like this just to extend his own political career. Yoon is an amateur. He lied about, and he says that he more or less on short notice, but it turns out in the wake of the martial law declaration and the coup collapsing that no, this had actually been planned for quite some time, and so he's being charged with insurrection, and possibly treason. So if he actually gets convicted of this, and if he's lucky, he'll spend the rest of his life in prison. If he's not lucky, he'll end up like Milosevic.
Yeah.
Because like I said, Korea doesn't screw around.
I know, man.
South Korea might be the bitch of the United States but it's not a bitch of, say, Ukraine.
Yeah.
Which is being destroyed right now rather than surrender, because the alternative of displeasing the United States is considered worse than taking its chances with Russia. Not without reason, because if you look at the history of the Second World War, the Nazis preferred to surrender to the United States because they knew if the Russians got them, they were fucked.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is still an element in South Korea that is not entirely in the back pocket of the United States, and actually wants reconciliation of with North Korea. I don't think it'll ever reunite with North Korea in the way that a lot of communists would like with the communist Korea. I don't think it's going to end up being like Vietnam. I think it's going to be more a situation, the North and the South remaining separate and independent from one another, but still working with each other as allies. As the cultures at this point are just so different from one another. I don't think you're ever going to convince the South to give up capitalism and become communist. Yeah. You're certainly not going to convince the North to become capitalist because they see what's happening in the South.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you could say the same thing about like, for example, like, this probably sound kind of awkward, but United States and Cuba, like, kind of different. What you think?
What the hell is Trump thinking with the talking about annexing Canada, Greenland, the Panama? The United States is in no position to do any of that. It's like the prime minister of, or Denmark or whoever owns Greenland is saying, look, Greenland is not up for sale. And some nitwit on Twitter said, we're not asking. Yeah, we know. Yeah. We don't care. We're still not selling it.
Exactly. I don't know, man.
I mean, seriously, how the fuck is the United States going to annex Canada, Greenland, or the Panama? Are people reading the news? One quarter of the United States military is physically and mentally unfit for duty because of unchecked spread of SARS-CoV-2.
Yeah, I heard that. Man, I heard that.
Look it up. The United States Marine Corps is being hit hard, and it's like, this is what happens when you try to pretend away a pandemic. You can't do it because pandemics, not having brains, don't recognize, oh, hey, wait, this body doesn't believe in us. So we viruses can't enter and replicate. No,
exactly.
That's not happening. No, viruses don't give a shit what you think. They don't care what your politics are. They're viruses. They don't have brains.
Exactly.
They just invade your cells, use them to replicate, destroy them in the process, and move on to the next dose. They don't even have to keep you alive any longer than it takes to complete their life cycle.
Yep. They mutate too. Well, yeah, you said that, but yeah.
Coronaviruses especially mutate so rapidly that there's no cure for the common cold, because first of all, there's no virus that causes a common cold, but some strains of the cold are caused by coronaviruses, and they mutate so rapidly that vaccines can't keep up. That's why we here in the United States are behind the 8 ball here, or behind the curveball, because we won't do anything to mitigate the spread of the virus so that the existing vaccines can do their work. So it's constantly mutating around the existing vaccines. So we're always trying to play catch up to the last 2 or 3 variants behind the current one. So by the time we develop a vaccine for the XEC variant, or any of its successors, there already be another dominant strain.
Yeah. Only you know why? Because of capitalism. That's why.
Yeah.
Go back to work. Let's end all the
So
pandemic safety nets. Just
it's just really stupid. So how is Trump going to take over Panama or Green Canada or any other place he wants to invade when a quarter of the United States military is crippled from COVID and can't fight anymore, and then by attrition, you lose another 25% of the remaining number you've got. So looking at the writing on the wall, and it's like, dude, we don't have a fucking military to staff those naval carriers or any of the battleships. So how are we going to down there to Panama seize control now? You don't have people to staff your ships. The United Kingdom is having the same problem. They don't have enough people to man their warships.
Exactly.
And when they do manage to get, it ends up having to retreat because when you've got an understaffed warship, you're not be able to put up much of a fight in the face of Yemeni drones that are targeting it and sinking it.
Yeah, exactly, man. I think Trump is one of them motherfuckers that just wake up and just think of random shit to say. Get on True Social.
He's idiots who never plans out anything ahead. He just thinks off the cuff and then pats himself. He's, it's basically why he and Muskrat get along so well. That Muskrat was able to buy him out. Both being extreme right-wing billionaires, they actually think they're the smartest people in the room. And since they don't surround themselves with anyone but yes people, there's no one to tell them you're fun.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have the staff to man your battleships and your naval carriers or your nuclear submarines, especially are close spaces where if there's a illness ripping through like H5N1 bird flu, 60% mortality rate. That's not 16. No, that's 60 or 6 out of 10 fatality rate so far from what we've been observing. But you think you're going to send the United States Navy and your ships and your submarines to where viruses are decimating the crews? So by the time they get there, if you're lucky, you might have half of functioning. And you're certainly not going to be able to. And it's certainly for any war with China, with its anti-naval missile system, where it just overwhelms anything that we've got. Our ships can't even get into range to launch fighter craft because fighter craft need fuel.
Yep, lots of fuel.
And if you keep your out of range of China's missile system, well, guess what? Those fighter craft are going to need to land or try and refuel in the air before they get to the theater of operations. They're not making it.
Fuel in the air.
Yeah, exactly, because you've got anti-aircraft missiles firing at them. So it's like, logistics trumps solutions every time. Pun intended, by the way. So, and plus we've exhausted our weapon supplies in Ukraine and Israel, giving Israel everything it wants to wage its genocide in Gaza. We've to Ukraine, Europe has nothing to send anymore. We don't have anything to send anymore, not without sacrificing our ability to wage war against China. Not that we have a chance anyway, but
no, we don't.
But you got to look at the logistics of this stuff, and frankly, we are not in a position to do anything right now. So we're not taking over Canada. We're not taking Greenland or Panama, and we're sure as fuck not going to be launching a war against China and have any hope of.
Yeah.
So it's just,
Yeah. All right. Hey, before we get to the next story, you think Trump gonna get his way and launch a war in Iran?
Oh, he wishes. I'm if you would ask me 2 months ago what the likelihood would be of Trump actually trying to Iran, I said, yeah, lots of luck after Iran's little demonstrations in April and what was it, June or July, with the retaliatory strikes against Israel. But now I'm thinking, in light of the events in Syria, that was just a complete foobar situation, because Syria was the stabilizing factor in the Middle East. I know a lot of people are more expert on this than I am. I am not nearly as on it as some other people, but just looking at the situation, Syria is being carved up by Israel, which wants to annex something like 80% of the country in order to establish its Israel, as in the Bible. So it's carving up Syria. Turkey is taking its share. The United States is taking its share. So not only is Syria a travel route for fuel, but it can also be used as a staging ground to attack Iran and other countries. So I'm honestly, I am not sure at this point what Iran would be capable or inclined to do. What I do know is if I were the Ayatollahs in Iran, I would be retracting that fatwa against nuclear weapons right the fuck now and giving the green light to develop those nuclear warheads that the Iranians are saying. Basically, look, if we start this up, we'll have this ready to go in about a week.
Yeah.
All we need to do is launch a warhead onto a hypersonic missile, and Tel Aviv is ground zero.
Yeah. But, hey, Iran basically just saying, we can do this, but y'all keep fucking with us. All right? Like, I'll say this. I wouldn't fuck with Iran, man. Like that's why we had a nuclear deal with them, to keep things, intertwined.
Yeah, and then Trump torpedoed that deal because he thought it left the United States weaker. No, it didn't. But it's like you can't simply go ahead and renege on a deal like that and expect the Iranians to trust you again. So I think right now, at this point, I think that the deciding factor is going to be what happens in Syria as to what happens with Iran, or Iran. I'm pronouncing Iran. I always grew up hearing it Iran, and I still say that out of habit, but no, it's Iran. But yeah, I think what happens in Syria will determine what happens with Iran or Iran. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. What next story you want to talk about?
Well, Jimmy Carter died.
Okay, I'll pull that up. Yeah.
See, I've never been one to romanticize politicians when they die. Even the ones I like Jimmy Carter, I actually liked him. But even even politicians like him, whom I respect and admired, have their issues. All right. I'm a big fan of the Roosevelts, but they also had their issues and did a lot of stuff that I have reason to condemn them for. And I just do not romanticize people. So, yeah, there's a lot of people in East Timor who are not mourning Jimmy Carter's passing. But, it's you kind of have to take the good and the bad and weigh them against each other. I will say that Carter was a much better human being after he left office than he was while in office. But, we shouldn't really ignore the very real things that he did. For example, he did support the Pol Pot government ousted by Vietnam in 1979. support was essential to further punishment of Vietnam for having successfully defended her own population against the American invaders. U.S. Indochina's strategy also intended to outflank the Vietnamese, who were aligned with the Soviet Union, and to back the Pol Pot forces aligned with. Carter declared his support for the Shah of Iran, despite the rampant torture practiced by the Shah's secret police in close collaboration with the CIA, more emphatically than Richard had. There is no leader with whom I have a deeper sense of personal friendship and gratitude. Following the Indonesians' 1995 invasion of East Timor, Carter continued to arm Indonesia's army dictatorship as well as give diplomatic vetoing UN resolutions to end the atrocities in the former Portuguese colony. So that war killed more than 200,000 Maoris, making it the worst genocide relative to population since World War II up to that point. Carter did nothing to pressure General Suharto, which is an Indonesian chief of state, to end the war, and he was an ally and major supporter of the Indonesian military's repression of its own population. So, and then of course he supported Nicaragua's then dictator Anastasio Somoza, who murdered and repressed tens of people. So, and despite a lot of people rightly giving Ronald Reagan flack for selling weapons to Iran so that he could arm the terrorist Contra regime, Carter also supported the Contras. So, it's not like, Carter's hands are necessarily clean. He did a lot as president.
Yeah.
That is just as blood-soaked as his successors. Yeah, but he gets a lot of a pass from a lot of people because of the things he did after his presidency, which I think was largely driven by guilt over having wreaked so much destruction and havoc that I think he spent the rest of his life trying to make up for it, which I will give him credit for that. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, me too.
But we should always ever acknowledge the bad along with the good in any public figure, because only by accepting all of that person's actions, not just the ones that we want to cherry pick, can you get a complete picture of who that person actually was and give a fair historical judgment. Because I got my master's in history and I minored in classical and medieval studies for my undergrad. So this is actually my area of special. So, as much as I like the guy, I have to admit, he did do a lot of stuff that he should be condemned.
Yeah, you're right. If we condemn, Bush and Obama and Trump and Joe Biden, gotta, condemn Carter too.
Yeah. In my opinion, out of all the presidents under whose rule I've lived, I think I was born in May. What month did Nixon resign in 1974? I think might have been May. But from Ford all the way to now, Carter was the least worst out of a horribly evil bunch.
Yeah.
That's about the best I can say about him as far as his time in office. I'm not going to go into his domestic policies. Also quite conservative, but I will give him credit for to try and open up government to participation from the citizenry, which unfortunately was undone under Reagan, but he at least tried. But yeah, a very mixed record, but I think his post-presidency what he'll be most well remembered and respected for.
Yeah, my thing is about Carter too is that he basically signaled a two-state solution between Israel and Palestine. Like I get it. He talking about. He said, I
think he got so much pushback that he wasn't able to get the deal finalized. I think the best he was able to settle for was to get Egypt to kind of back away from its heart stance. Which got Anwar Sadat assassinated, by the way.
Yeah, I read it.
Sadat did what he was expected to do by the United States, and he was assassinated for it. Same thing with Yitzhak in the 1990s. He agreed to the two-state solution, and Netanyahu had him assassinated.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. What's the next story you want to talk about? Got 3 more.
Well, the House of Representatives, another anti-Semitism bill is.
Okay.
Yeah, this was from last. Yeah, this was from back in May, but they're floating. I think that it's going to go to the Senate during the next session, I think. But yeah, so this article from back in May that the House of Representatives voted May 2nd to pass the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, which basically outlaws anti-Zionist speech. So supporters of legislation say it'll help combat anti-Semitism on college campuses, but opponents say it overreaches and threatens to chill free speech. So basically what they're trying to do is to shut down protests against the Israeli genocide of Palestinians on college campuses. And Trump, of course, being the big mouth that he is threatening to cut off funding to college campuses that don't shut down anti-war protests. So this will probably end up going to the Senate next month. It won't surprise me if it's taken up and passed during that period. But yeah, I mean, you can see the House vote was 320 to 91 with 70 Democrats and 21 Republicans voting against the bill. So think about it. There were over 200 Democrats in the House of Representatives, and under, fewer than half of them actually bothered to vote against this.
Yeah.
I mean, we know Republicans are going to vote for it, but
oh yeah, no matter what. Yeah.
Well, except for 21 of them, but they're probably so senile they didn't recognize what they were voting for.
I guess half of the 21. I guess half of them was senile, and you can say half of them were the what they call it the radical right. Well, the fuck I forgot the populist right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know what it's really weird. It's like the guy who beat AOC for a House committee ranking member position.
Yeah.
He's 74 and dying of cancer, basically.
Yeah.
And he's and I guess the reason he gave for wanting to go for this position was it's my time. It's like, I've been in the House for before most of you were even born. I'm hacking up blood every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's my turn.
Man, that's crazy. It's like
this is a party that AOC sold her soul for. I mean, good Lord.
Yeah. AOC thought she had it in the bag, and she got burned by Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi made calls while she was in the hospital recovering from hip surgery or some shit. I heard. So
and it's like, I remember this episode of The Daily Show where Jon Stewart's talking about Obama trying to always make some kind of deal with Republicans, and Jon Stewart kept shouting, "They're not going to let her." Referring to that joke where people will pretend to open the car door, then drive off it just as you're about to get in, and it's like that's what Obama's entire presidency seemed to be, him trying to get into the Republican car and being constantly out, and AOC basically decided, yeah, that's for me, baby. I'm making my career out of that.
Oh man!
No, they're really going to let me in the car this time. If I keep bending over for Nancy Pelosi, with their giant spiked strap on.
Yeah. Remember AOC and Bernie Sanders endorsed Joe Biden like early last year?
Yeah, I know. It's like, dude, the boy has been video recorded around confused, and he thought that the Pope, when he met him a couple of years ago, said that he was a famous African American baseball player, and Pope Francis was like, I'm sorry, what did he say? And he said, you're a baseball player.
I ain't even heard about that one, but damn.
Yeah,
man.
I mean,
Yeah.
Biden, has been seen on video on more than one occasion wandering around like he doesn't know where
Yeah.
he is.
Yeah. Remember
I mean,
D-Day, that
I'll never
ceremony?
forget. Yeah, I'll never forget in 2021 when Obama paid a visit to the White House super spreader event. All the White House staff, rushed to his side to pat him on the back and welcome him back
Yeah.
home, and Biden was basically left to wander around looking for something to do because, being ignored.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was 2021.
I know.
I mean, Biden is on the campaign trail in 2019 talking about his hairy leg because he forgot what he was supposed to be saying. It's like, yeah, I remember these guys. Back in '62, they were all guys at the time. They're men now. It's like, what the fuck? And it was even in 20. Julio Castro, I think, or Mark Castro, whatever his name was. Forgettable these politicians are. I can't even keep their names straight. But he was on the stage saying, look, do you not see anything wrong here with this picture? This guy can't even remember what he's saying. And everyone was like gaslighting him and pretending Biden was fine. And I'm like,
yeah,
dude.
Corporate media too. Yeah. They were saying, oh,
yeah, and they were all in on it. I mean, this thing with the Washington, was it? No, the Wall Street Journal, actually. No, Wall Street Journal had this article about how Biden's aides basically hid all this from Matthew, like, fooled by all this. And I was like, no, you weren't fooled. You knew the whole time. Grow up. Stop lying.
Yep.
It's like, what the fuck? I mean, it's like you were all in on the cover-up because you were so hell-bent on stuff. Trump, you didn't care who got elected as long as it was a neoconservative Democrat or even a neoconservative Republican. I think if Trump had lost the nomination in 2020 or something, or for whatever reason couldn't run in, they probably would have picked a neocon Republican. The Democrats would have been happy to lose to him, rather than go with Biden because they wanted a neocon in there. So, because they wanted to keep things on track, going against Russia, because the Trump years, even though Trump ramped up sanctions and ramped up against Russia throughout his regime, it still wasn't enough, and spent that time preparing for the eventuality that it might actually have to fight NATO over Ukraine being inducted into that hostile military alliance right up on Russia's border. So, that gave them a little bit more time than they probably would have had otherwise to prepare for that. So, when Russia launched as a special military operation in spring of 2022, there was like 6 had to prepare that it would not have had under Hillary Clinton, who I think would have started a proxy war right away.
Yeah.
Related to the point of a nuclear exchange if she had been in, because being a neoconservative and a complete fucking moron, she doesn't know how to do anything but escalate. But that, I think, is why half the establishment actually supported Trump over her, because nobody wanted Trump or Clinton anywhere near. Okay, Trump was seen as dangerously inexperienced, and Clinton was dangerously incompetent and hawkish. Not that they have any problem with war hawks, but they don't want someone who is unstable and likely to escalate to a point where even the war hawks are uncomfortable, because they've got no problem using Ukraine as a proxy to fight its wars, because it knows a direct confrontation with Russia would result in a nuclear exchange, which no one survives. And the United States obviously wants to survive and be the one nation on top of the... And they can't do that if it's a smoldering crater that stretches from the Atlantic to the Pacific.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so, man. what you said about Hillary Clinton, yeah, man. I believe if Hillary won in 2016, I believe that it would have been the Russia-Ukraine conflict would have started way before.
So nobody prepared to admit that the guy they rigged the election for in 2020, with a lot of help from Obama, making calls to the other candidates to drop out and endorse Genocide Joe. Because Obama's worried about his own legacy. If his VP loses and Bernie Sanders wins, that's a repudiation of Obama's right-wing legacy, and he wasn't about to have that. So, but he was remarked to have said in 2020, never underestimate Joe's ability to fuck things up, because Biden actually toast point. So, so Obama pulled the strings he did, along with Pelosi and Schumer, and they got Biden in. But then Biden spent the rest of the time senile and unable to function. So, for 4 years, we've been without an official functioning chief executive. Because if you think Kamala Harris has been the functioning executive in his place, no mention to her either, because she can't even speak without a teleprompter. There's a reason. There is a reason why Joe Biden chose Holocaust Kamala Harris. All right. It's not because she's a brilliant orator like Obama was. She can't even answer a fucking question.
Exactly. Word salad.
A bunch of incomprehensible word salad, like you said. And so without a script, she's toast. I mean, she lost to Tulsi fucking Gabbard on a debate stage.
Yeah. Like, ever since that debate, Kamala.
Yeah. And California hates her too, so I don't know.
Yeah, they didn't win a delegate in her state. Oh my God! How the fuck?
Yeah, I know. It's like, so so obviously Harris was not chosen for her intellect or her ability to carry out the duties of the job. No, she is basically chosen by Biden in his lucid moments, which are incredible at that point, for no other reason than to fuck over the Democratic Party. The party, from the beginning of 2020, had no intention whatsoever of letting Joe Biden run for a second term. They knew, even then, that he was not mentally competent, and that whoever was picked as VP would probably be the one, or if not the VP, then his cabinet members would be the ones actually running the show. The one thing Biden had control of was his VP pick, someone he knew no chance whatsoever against a Republican candidate, whether it was Trump or someone else, so that if they pushed him out, which ultimately happened, the Democrats would lose.
Exactly.
If you don't, there's a reason why Joe Biden said, nobody messes with a Biden.
Yeah.
Because he will not hesitate to fuck you over just to spite you.
Yeah. Yeah. Before we get to the next story, I'm gonna say this. I think Biden happy she lost, because I think he still got an ass on his back about the Democratic Party turning on him.
I know, no, he absolutely is overjoyed. The 5 minutes per week that he actually remembers who he is and where he is and what he's doing. He's laughing his ass off at what he did to Harris.
Yeah.
And Pelosi and Schumer and every other Democrat who fucked him over, because they did fuck him over.
Yeah, they did.
Not that I'm complaining about that, because if anyone deserves to be fucked over, it's Joe Biden, who is a master of fucking everyone else over. But
no doubt.
But he's got the last laugh at the end of the day, which I hate to admit, and I don't want to be sitting here appearing to be happy for Joe Biden that he actually got what he wanted, because I'm not, because we're stuck with Caligula Trump for another years.
Oh God, yeah. Trump and his yes man. Oh, God.
Yeah, but that's going to be another dumpster fire.
But God. Yeah.
But there is a Schadenfreude here, taking pleasure at the misfortune of a political party that problem throwing marginalized people under the bus and cackling about it, and ended up being thrown on by one of its very own leaders, especially when they counted on to be pretty much helpless and a useful tool that they could use. Because there's no way, there's no Biden in there if he'd been possessed of all of what few marbles he had, because he never had all that many marbles to lose. But yeah, he was one of those. He was kind of like the Dan Quayle of the Democrat Party. It's like say a bunch of stupid shit and but otherwise be entirely irrelevant. But there's one thing that he excelled at. It was profiteering off of political and fucking people over. I think the shrinking part of him that still really is, and still understands that he was being used all these years, and that he wasn't actually supposed to actually be in charge of anything. That small but very powerful part of him that is still conscious and has enough pride to be angry at what was done to him. Yeah, laughing its ass off right now.
Hell yeah. That's
right. As much as I despise that little kitty molester,
yeah,
I cannot help but gloat over what he did to the Democrats.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can't think of it. Apparently it's not just Glitch McTurtle and breaking things. No, apparently Dennis Prager of PragerU fell down and broke his neck about 5 weeks ago. I don't know how that happened. For all I know, he could have fallen off. He could have had a dizzy spell from COVID. He broke the C3 and C4 vertebrae in his neck.
Damn.
That caused spinal damage. So yeah, he's paralyzed from the neck down. They're not. So they're waiting to see if he'll make any kind of recovery. But couldn't have happened to a nicer fascist.
That's why I was laughing earlier. Yeah. Karma comes, man. Like before we get to the last two topics, last two news stories, let's talk about Louisiana, man. How you feel about that whole situation? Just give me a breakdown.
I honestly don't know if he actually did it. I mean,
okay, yeah,
the cops I think the cops still haven't caught the right guy, because I know that, there's experts who are probably more well versed in this than I am, weighing in and saying, "Oh yeah, that was stuff." But I'm looking at being a photographer myself, and also sometime videographer. You can't tell me that his eyebrows suddenly grew closer together and got thicker within hours, and then developed a differently shaped jawline or nose. I think the guy they had initially might actually be the shooter and got away, and Mangione might. It was like, okay, fine. He was in similar jacket. We need a suspect right away because our bosses on Wall Street are breathing down our necks to get someone quick. But I mean, come on, this was a premeditated hit on one of the biggest and most corrupt health insurance company.
Yeah, the worst
in the world. And this guy knew enough to take a backpack with him, with a change of clothes, disappear into Central Park through entryways that have no cameras.
Yeah, premeditated.
Not leave a trace. So I think the cops probably caught this guy and planted evidence because they needed a suspect.
Okay.
I mean, I could be wrong. I really admit I could be wrong. Okay, I don't know all the, but my gut tells me this guy is a patsy because the suspect right away, and they don't feel like chasing after whoever did do it. But I did post on my Twitter. Look, You better be sure you've got the right guy, because if he's not the right guy, then that means the shooter is there, and it's only a matter of time before he or someone else decides to go after the rest of you motherfuckers.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then Eric Adams, of course, hands Mangione a get out of jail free card, because between the over sensationalized the fact that the judge has interest, being married to a former Pfizer executive, that the mayor has gone out of his way to make prejudicial statements, ensuring that he cannot get a fair trial. I think it's a definite possibility. I don't know how likely it is, but I think it is a possibility that he could get acquitted based on jury nullification, because they cannot find an unbiased jury to sit in on this.
yeah.
Now, the reason I say I could be wrong is because it could very well go the way of the written trial, where, or as I call him, Kyle Rittenhouse.
Rittenhouse.
Because in that, Rittenhouse had the judge acting as co-counsel for the defense, prejudicing the jury against the prosecution, and also Rittenhouse's attorneys got final say over the makeup of the jury. So could very well be that situation where it ends up going, except in the prosecution's favor, where they stack the jury with a bunch of Wall Street types or people sympathetic to and then go with a judge who has a clear conflict of interest. But honestly, I know for a fact, however this goes, he's not going to get a fair trial.
Oh no.
Whether or not he's a shooter.
Yeah, anybody rational, like, like accept the fact, yeah. Yeah, like you said, like, well, one thing I'm gonna say before we get to the next story, like, whether he did it or not, it's still up in the air. Got people talking about healthcare, man. Like, everybody come tweeting out their stories.
Yeah,
about,
I know. I mean, Peter Thiel, who bought JD Vance, only to lose out to Muskrat for influence in the incoming White House. But yeah, you could see him visibly sweating and at a loss for words, because one thing Peter Thiel and other billionaires, well, not that there's any such thing as a left-wing billionaire, but billionaires prided themselves on being able to control public opinion, and realizing that the public still hates their guts, cheers when they die, has them rattled.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
they scared.
You can smell the fear in the air.
Yeah, all the motherfuckers scared, bro. Hell, Trump got almost murked twice, so his ass scared. So yeah,
so
they did it. Hey, they did it to themselves. Like, you choose profits over people, over your workers. I don't feel sorry for these motherfuckers. Like, some people say I'm wrong for saying that. I don't. Like, Brian Thompson, like, my father died because of him, because apparently United Healthcare wouldn't cover his experimental treatments for his prostate cancer. So his cancer eventually spread all over his body and he died. So
yeah,
I don't fucking feel sorry for him.
I don't see how you're going to get a jury comprised of people who absolutely lost no one to the health insurance industry.
Yeah.
So exactly. So even though I don't know how likely it is, I think it is possible that there ends up being jury nullification, where they cannot get an impartial jury.
Yeah.
Or at least they can't get the impartial jury that they want.
Yeah. I think what's gonna happen, what you said, like, they're gonna get some Wall Street ball colors to be filling in that position, and throw the book on them. That's what I think. So
yeah, it's kind of like this old Mad Magazine cartoon panel that I read about where it's like you're entitled to, a judge tells a defendant, you're entitled to a jury of your peers, and the defendant says, but Your Honor, where am I going to find 12 to sit in on the jury?
Yeah.
Because his peers are all pickpockets. Come on. So
Yeah.
I don't see how it's a fair trial, but at the same time, I don't see how he even gets a trial, because they can't find a jury that doesn't hate health insurers' guts. Even people on the extreme right wing. I mean, Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
That squeaky voice perpetual virgin who had to get a paternity test to prove his kids were actually his. No, sorry, Ben. I hate to break this to you, but no, your kids are not 1/16 black on their great-great-great-grandfather's side. No. Your wife went ahead and got it on with your brother, okay? You don't need to pretend that you actually got laid with your wife, okay? We know you're a virgin still, because no way you're that much of a dweeb and actually got laid, okay? Your voice hasn't even cracked.
Oh my God.
But your balls haven't even dropped low enough for your voice to deepen, and you're 40 years old. You had to grow a rubbish beard just to kind of prove that you're straight and not a virgin.
Oh God.
Okay, come on. But even Ben Shapiro was trying desperately to find some kind of support of opinion for the health insurance CEO. Even mainstream right called him, that he's like, no, fuck him.
Yeah. Yeah.
When Ben Shapiro is caught out.
Yeah. That's, man, I saw that. I'm like, holy shit. Like, but one thing that gets me with the left is like, take this as a win. Like, hey, people talk like we was vindicated, like this healthcare system is fucked up. We all say we need universal healthcare of some sort. Just take the win. Like, but the left just we'll talk about that last. Yeah.
Oh my.
All right. What's the next story you want to talk about?
It's up to you, man. I'm out. I'm out of ideas. I picked a few that really at the last minute. So
we got two more. I'm gonna share my screen. This is about. Let me see. I'm gonna pull it up right quick. Let me see. This story right here. Hold on. Share. There you go. What you think about? This one says court issues warrants. Yeah, hold on, man.
Yeah,
ad blocker. I got ad blocker turned on. Hold on, let me see. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you already talking about this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to go back to it, we can. I've got no problem with that because it does. Because I was actually in South Korea in November. On a layover flight to the Philippines.
Oh yeah, you told about that.
And this was just literally just a few weeks before that actually happened. And then, from what I'm told, South Koreans can be kind of jerks. So I'm not entirely sympathetic, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, but it's. I don't know. I've got a fondness for Korean history, just because China and Japan get all the glory, and then there's the history of Vietnam, and then the Philippines that they kind of get. Vietnam gets discussed because of the war, but countries like Korea, the Philippines, they don't get talked about all that much, and so I kind of like the history of both those places, and especially with Korean. Swords after the 16th century Japanese invasion, there was a lot of influence on Korean that they actually became much more like Japanese katana. There are subtle differences in terms of weight and construct that set them apart from Japanese katanas, but if you were did not have a well-trained eye for it, you would probably a similarity and think that they're the same kind of sword. But that's again because of the Japanese influence after the 16th century. Because during the Warring Shoguns period, this is roughly around 1600 when the battles of Sekigahara set up the Tokugawa dynasty that lasted for so many centuries. But Japan was also making incursions into Korea. And it was around that time that they had that aesthetic influence in terms of architecture, clothing, weaponry. I mean, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. I'm gonna play this video. It's about 5 minutes long. It's interesting. So here we go. Let's see. Play it.
Good evening. I'm Ali Rogan. John Yang is away. President-elect Donald Trump has urged the Supreme Court to block a law that would force the popular social media app TikTok to be sold or shut down. It's set to take effect the day before his inauguration. The app has over 1 billion monthly active users. TikTok has said more than 150 million are in the U.S., but the Biden administration says TikTok poses grave national security threats because its China-based parent company ByteDance is subject to the will of the Chinese Communist Party. In a legal filing last night, Trump told the justices that a delay would allow his administration to negotiate a resolution to save the platform while addressing national security concerns. Bobby Allen is a technology correspondent for NPR. Bobby, thank you so much for being here. Let's remind folks, this TikTok law just passed earlier
Keep in mind,
this year.
Bobby Allen
Why
is
did
probably
proponents
from
of
the
law
CIA
want to see it passed?
Yeah.
or the
Yeah,
NSA. Yeah. The thing about NPR after the Bush-Cheney regime, that there was a steady replacement of the liberals on the network with more conservative hosts who basically invite people on from the government and agencies to regurgitate their propaganda and then challenge any of it. So take what this guy says with a grain of salt.
Exactly. Yeah.
And how did TikTok respond?
So TikTok's problem has always been China. Since the app surged in popularity in the pandemic, lawmakers in Washington have been really concerned because TikTok has ties to Beijing. Its parent company is based in ByteDance, and the fear has always been that the Chinese Communist Party can try to influence the app, right? By using the app to collect Americans' data or to try to shape Americans' views about the world. So this law was passed that is forcing TikTok to shed its Beijing parent company or be banned nationwide. ByteDance says TikTok isn't for sale, so the law is set to take effect January 19th.
And of course, we are now in this protracted legal battle. Get us up to speed on how that has been playing out and how this got to the Supreme Court so relatively quickly.
So soon after the law was signed by President Biden in April, TikTok appealed, and they made a First Amendment case saying the Americans who use the app will have their free speech suppressed if this app is put out of business. But the appeals court came back and said, you know what? The national security case against TikTok is really compelling. We're also very worried about China. This law is valid. So then TikTok appealed to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court looked at the appeals court decision and said, you know what? This needs review. And the Supreme Court set an emergency hearing on a lightning fast deadline. So in a matter of weeks, the Department of Justice and lawyers for TikTok will be meeting in the Supreme Court to decide the fate of this app.
And now, of course, President-elect Trump is getting involved. What exactly is he asking for?
It was a really stunning letter that surprised lots of legal observers across the political spectrum. Basically, Trump wrote a letter to the court saying, hey, Supreme Court, maybe you should hold off on your ruling and give me some time as president-elect to come into the White House and broker a deal that could result in the selling of TikTok. It's a pretty extraordinary request, given that Trump, right now, he is president-elect, but right now he's filing this motion as a private citizen, right? He doesn't have any kind of legal authority to make this request, but he made it nonetheless. And, inside TikTok, they are thrilled because it was always a dice roll in terms of what would happen at the Supreme Court. But now we have the president-elect saying, TikTok, don't worry, I'm going to rescue the app one way or another.
So the president-elect has evolved on TikTok. He wanted to ban it during his first administration. Why now the reversal?
So Trump has said publicly that TikTok helped turn out the youth vote. But behind the scenes, something else has been happening. There's a hedge fund manager named Jeff Yoss in the Philadelphia area. He and his company, Susquehanna International Group, have a $30 billion stake in ByteDance, the owner of TikTok. And advisors close to Yoss have been pushing Trump to see TikTok a little differently. There was this big meeting between Trump and Yoss in Florida in March, and shortly after, Trump started changing his tune.
Very quickly,
there's the elephant in the room that no one wants to talk about. Yes, TikTok is not entirely influenced by Beijing. No, it does have investors, and its U.S. division is here in the United States, and it does have a vested interest in making sure that the app does not get banned here because, again, money.
Exactly. It's all about.
People might be making revenue as regular users on TikTok, like some of my TikTok accounts, like Haley and Kendra, or let's say that there's an Ohio comedian here who I keep forgetting names on there, but he's got this thing. He pretends to be his own father, and then he uses some kind of warping filter face, and then gets on his knees to pretend he's his own 11-year-old son, who sends all these fucked up stuff. And the guy's based in Ohio. I gotta support my fellow Ohioans. So, and then there's like Jafiki with he came up with like a Weller hub. Oh, if you Weller hub, oh my god, it's hilarious. And then there's Nicole Cohen, and it's like all these comedy sketches that I've grown to love on there. It makes me wonder. It's like, dude, come on, you're afraid of some chick on TikTok who make up tutorials? Come on, no.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
So,
like somebody. Yeah,
and that's mostly what the U.S. Of TikTok is. It's actually been quite hostile to Palestinian voices and I had a couple of my own videos taken down years ago when I was remarking on the war in Ukraine. Those videos were banned from TikTok because I was not very kind and pointed out that Ukraine is run by literal Nazis like that. So, it's not like TikTok is doing the bidding of China. No, it's doing the bidding of its investors, which include Americans.
Yeah,
and this is a real driving force behind wanting to negotiate some kind of deal. But like I said, I don't think he's going to be able to pull it off because ByteDance is not selling this because it's a matter of pride, not just for Beijing, but also for the non-U.S. investors. It's like they don't want to be bullied into selling off a profitable division in one of their bigger markets to the United States because the United States is an empire. It does not have the political influence it once did. And a foreign company really should have to be bullied into handing over its assets to a dying empire that just wants to use it to propagandize its own population.
Yeah.
So I don't think Trump is going to be able to negotiate such a deal, and he'll probably end up supporting the ban at the end of the day. But if he does manage to pull this off, then he'll be known as a guy who saved people's incomes, specifically of those 150 million American TikTok users who get, like I said, most, if not all, of their income.
Yeah.
So, this is a pretty obvious ploy by Trump to kind of pander to a demographic that even if it doesn't actually support him, but like I said, people vote with their stomachs and their wallets.
Yeah.
Even if they don't outright support him, but they're not going to oppose the guy who is coming in and say, hey, let's actually try and protect these people's incomes.
Yeah.
Never mind
Exactly.
that he's being sincere about it and has no intention of following through.
Yeah. 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 Like, we can't ignore that Trump is a narcissist, and you know how narcissists roll. Like
yeah,
everything they do is in the interest of them, not you. One more question left, indeed, then we can close it out, man. I can, like, you can talk all day, and you one of the few people that when you talk, I fucking listen. So anyway,
I'm just sorry that I keep talking most of the time, because I mean it's your show, and you can be the one talking, but
no, you good. Like, you the guest, so I let my guests speak their mind. It's good. What do you think about 2025? You think more the same or better?
I think it's going to be more of the same.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, because the first time Trump got into office, it was a shit show because he was coming in as a rank amateur, completely incompetent, and now he's coming in as a battle-hardened incompetent with a lot of payback on his mind. Because if you think for one moment that all those convictions are going to stand up on appeal, think again. The lead prosecutor in Georgia has been removed from the case because she was caught with a bunch of conflicts of interest and using her office to pursue a politically motivated prosecution. Jonathan Turley, who I only give 50% credit to, because a lot of his views are decidedly conservative, but every once in a while he does have a banger, specifically when it comes to issues of the prosecutions of Trump and the situation with Hunter Biden. I kind of treat him the way I treat Alexander Mercouris and Scott Ritter. It's like they're good on, horrible on others. And the ones that he's good on, for example, was in detailing the obvious political motivation and conflicts of interest in the Trump prosecutions. If you think those are going to hold up under appeal, especially with Trump getting to pick the incoming Justice Department, think again. And because the Democrats have set the precedent with this, in pretty blatant politically motivated prosecutions, whether or not they had any legitimacy to them, and I think did, if they had been engaged in honestly, but whether or not they had merit, they're still seen as political. And so what's to stop Trump now from prosecuting Clinton, Biden, Obama, the CIA, like Mike Pompous or Anthony Blinky?
Blinky. What about Binky? Anthony Binky.
Oh, Anthony Binky. Oh, that is even better. see, you're good at this too, man.
Yeah.
Binky. Oh my God. Get that trending. Actually, we will become gods.
Oh God, man.
Binky. Oh my God.
That will kill me.
I don't know. How much do you think that'll increase our follower count? We'll just be coming up with nicknames, and we'll be getting on Revolutionary Blackout Network as guests, because they'll be like, "Hey, man, these guys are getting on our radar."
Yeah, man. I knew podcasts. Yeah, man. Like your expertise in a lot of things, and my, somewhat expertise, man. Like, 2025 could be a great year for me. I believe
fingers crossed. My living situation is not exactly stable.
Yeah.
And my aunt's throwing me out because I, at the age of, went to the Philippines to visit my girlfriend and propose to her. It's like, hello, 50 years old. I don't look it, but yeah, I am.
You sure don't.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I spent this week plucking some gray hairs out. So yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, I'm younger than I am, but I am still 50 and should be able to make my own decisions in life, like who I'm going to date, who I'm going to marry, and
Exactly.
it just
Yeah.
happens that the one I fell in love with lives on the other side of the planet. But my aunt, for because according to her, Filipinos are just trying to use Americans to get American citizenships, and I was going to get kidnapped and killed, and she was going to leave my corpse in the Philippines to rot.
Wow.
And apparently, I wasn't supposed to from the Philippines. And also apparently it put her in danger by my going, because somehow they were going to get her information and brought her somehow, which never actually happened. So after I got back, and she had actually back in October, she had changed her mind and asked me to stick around and help take care of her and her dog.
Yeah.
And then she decides to pull this shit. So I've got till the end of January. I'll be going down to the housing court and getting the process started to say, look, because I'm taking because she rejected my rent check this month, so I'm just going to take it down to the housing court, put in an escrow. So if she decides to start the eviction process, I can say, look, I am paying my rent to the housing court in escrow. This is why I'm asking for a delay, because I start back at my job in February or March, after which I'll be saving up and moving out under my own power.
Yeah.
So and reasons for evicting me are this and this. And, I mean, being the homeowner, probably get her way, but, I'm going to make her work for it. So, but yeah, it's so once I'm in my own place and settled in, it'll point, because I'll not have to answer to her, be able to set my own schedule. But right now it's kind of a situation for me. So, but that reminds me, after tomorrow, besides the housing court, I got to get in touch with my supervisor and get an update on when I'll be called back.
Okay. Yeah, man. If you need any like type of mutual aid or any help, man, just
Yeah, that would be appreciated. I've tried without any success to fundraisers, even like for $60 to help make up the difference from my rent. I didn't get a single donation. So, but then again, I have very limited reach anyway.
But I got I ain't got much reach because that fucking Elon fucker limited it. But I can still I still have some kind of sort of reach. So, yeah, man, just share me a cash out. Send your cash out.
I think I sent it to you actually, but
yeah,
I'll send it again. But yeah, it's
yeah.
Let me do that right now, actually.
Yeah. And every day I'll promote you, because I like promoting the people that are actually real friends, because not a lot of real friends I found out on Twitter. So many fake folks. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm also posting a link to my. I'm also posting a link to my Venmo too.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So.
Yeah. So let me do that. I actually have a. Whoops. Let me. Come on. All right. So yeah, I'll send you the Cash App and Venmo info in just a second here, but yeah, I do appreciate any help you can send my way with regards to that, because it just is getting to the point where it's like I would very much like to do that, but it's a point where it's like going to get increasingly difficult over the next month or two, just because I got to deal with all the infantile BS going on with my aunt.
Yeah, I completely understand. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get it. Yeah, I had a Conrad. If you probably know him, JB. He JB Fun. He was housing insecure for a while. Yeah, and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, looking likely to need a kidney transplant. So
Yeah,
I do
yeah,
feel for him, especially because hospitals have dropped all COVID mitigations. He's especially at risk for severe outcomes and death if he gets COVID, and they're not.
yeah,
And RBM having tied its fortunes to Doorknob and his band of COVIDiots, I kind of worry every time JB goes into the hospital, is it going to come out again?
me too, man. I be worried for
And
him
if he
too.
does come out, is he going to come out in worse condition because the COVID infection that he never should have been exposed to?
Yeah, yeah. Just looking back at it, like if we only tackle this pandemic from the fucking start, like we wouldn't even be in this situation.
Yeah,
Like
I know. I mean, just with the
my,
mask
my
mandate
life.
alone, we drove a strain of flu extinct. And that was just 2 months of pretending to quarantine. Imagine what we could do with COVID if we
Mhm.
just implemented a mask policy, and not just
Yeah,
a surgical or cloth mask. I'm talking like
N95.
telling 3M, look, we are taking over your productions and sending N95 respirators out to every single household. If need be, but you're going to do it, and we're going to require masks in all public spaces.
Yeah,
Because and at the same time, we need to make sure that we've got far UVC every building, well, every public building anyway. I don't know how feasible for private dwellings, but at least in apartment building hallways and common areas, and then every other public building, get that in there along with improved ventilation and air filtration. That's really what we need to do. Send people a monthly check for like 1,200, whatever, but
hmm
send people money so that they can buy groceries, pay their rent, pay their
exactly.
utilities.
Yes,
Uh,
yeah. That should have been that should be a no brainer, man. Like if you look at
yeah,
even
it's
other
like
countries did that stuff as well. So
yeah, and it doesn't necessarily have to be forever too. Ideally
yeah,
UBI, but
yeah, you got
at this, but even temporary UBI, which is universal basic income for those unfamiliar with the term. Even
yeah,
a temporary version of that for an ongoing pandemic would go a long way to help people get back at least some of what they lost years ago, going on 5 years ago now. That would actually help people out immensely, especially if you make it retroactive to the start of the pandemic. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars
yes,
for people that they could, pay down their student loan debts or more, or hospital bills. All right. I mean, the president who implements that will never have to worry about getting reelected because he's automatically. Same thing with the Congress that passes it. So
hmm
naturally, they're going out of their way to happening
yep. That's so true, man.
because nobody
All right,
wants to be the president or the Congress that instituted even something resembling the New Deal.
yeah, yeah. Imagine if Biden did that. Like the Democrats, shit, they'll win every fucking election.
Yeah, well,
You
like I
know,
said, Biden is a neocon, so he was
I
never going to
know.
do
Yeah.
that. I mean, it was
Oh no, 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 no.
yeah. Biden is like if George W. Bush were senile and more well spoken.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good analogy. Hell yeah. Just thinking about that. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Okay, guys.
Yeah,
That wraps it up for the New Year Eve live stream of ATP Live. I really enjoy this guy. Like, man, like me and this guy, we
yeah. If we
gonna do.
could get Athene here to chat with us, I would love to listen to her for 3 hours.
Yeah, me too, man. I just had to set my schedule aside that whole day for Feeney. Yes, it was worth it. So in the coming weeks, Alfred obviously left independent. He got to figure out his home situation. But in the coming weeks, I'll say, you know, we'll come up with a podcast name, and we'll have our own separate YouTube channel, and I also will put it on podcasting platforms as well, so everybody could listen to us, you know, rumble and chat. So, all right, any last words left, Indy, before we head out?
None that could be said in polite company. I was going to say something inappropriate, but
Hey, you
just
said
remember, every hand that you shake has had something in it that you don't want to think about.
yeah, that's true. Okay.
So that's me, semi-prof, and trying to bring a little bit of levity to an otherwise serious discussion. So just understand that about me. I will sometimes get inappropriate.
Yeah, it's all good.
Course, obviously.
Hey,
obviously, that there are limits to everything. I'm not going to be like Dave Chappelle or half comedians out there who go out of their way to offend people just to offend people. Like, there's a limit to what kind of jokes you can tell, because you don't want to alienate your audience.
You gotta be, you gotta watch what you say. I learned that the hard way, huh?
A lot of people I used to look up to lament, oh, you can't say anything offensive anymore. It's like, well, first of all, times have changed and people have changed.
People change, yes.
Okay, if years ago, you're doing something wrong. Okay, Saddles. Okay, it was released the year I was born. It's one of my favorite Mel Brooks films, written by Richard Pryor. May he rest in peace. But even Richard Pryor would not write that movie today if he were alive.
Oh no,
because times are different, and you've got to evolve with the times. And
you
used to tell, a la Don Rickles. I mean, even Don Rickles wouldn't be telling the same jokes he was telling 30 years ago. So you got to change. And if that's going to be my last words for this particular broadcast, let it be, you have to be willing to learn, grow, and adapt to the times. If you don't, you're stagnating. And if you're stagnating, to survive.
Exactly. And also, too, before I go, one of my favorite comedians, Bernie Mac, a lot of his jokes will not be acceptable this era. So he wouldn't say that stuff he said back in the day. So all right, guys, thank you so much for supporting the ATP network. I'm Andre Morton. He's left Indy, and we signing out. Have a good rest of your New Year's.
All right, Happy New Year, people.
All right, bye, Indy.